This is Boxing Ticket, and we are delighted to be joined with the Hammer Padraig McCrory. I know we've sort of held off on doing an interview, obviously since your fight with Berlanga. How's things with you?
Things have been good, Morty. I think I've only really done one interview from the fight. Apart from my the fighters that I managed, I've took a bit of a step back from my own career. So I've been taking it easy, kind of concentrate on my own work life, which I still work, and my family life.
I know, obviously, I think it was the week after I obviously took you down to Dublin for obviously Jay
Mm.
Burns' show, and obviously you were able to enjoy wee parts of it. I guess in some ways, like you'll know yourself, Paddy, you probably weren't yourself for the first couple of weeks, probably afterwards. Hope you don't mind me saying, but you sort of weren't probably happy with your performance. Probably fair to say on the night.
Oh, listen, it's in hand. Well, like so, like hindsight's a brilliant thing. You can look back and say that you could have done so much things better, but it's like when it's all said and done, it's what's happened, and again, like isn't I think it's been more my own pride and ego that's took a bit of a hit, but I looking back, I definitely think I, I let an opportunity slip to even more that the show like what I had on the biggest stage of my life, and I didn't really. I felt like I didn't do that at all.
I was obviously speaking to Jay Quiqley, obviously on the Conlan boxing card the other week. Obviously, he fought Berlanga as well, and it was the reason I always wanted to speak to him was obviously because it was a different fight when he fought Berlanga, and he was sort of saying that he was more on the back foot, staying out of range. You're always a
Yeah.
puncher, so you're always going to be in range. So it was probably never going to be that same type of fight that he had. The opportunities he was able to get was going to be different for you because you were a puncher, and you're always going to go for your chances. Like, obviously I know just before the stoppage, you tried to land an uppercut, slightly missed, and then he obviously went for it again, and that left that gap. That's you're always going to take them odds. You're always going to go, if I land, I'm going to make a change. So, like, I guess when you look back, you probably done everything you probably wanted to do. In the fight, try to take opportunities.
Listen, I threw two backhand uppercuts in a row, and that's a really novice mistake, and it's a big regret of mine actually doing that. But listen, just looking back, and looking at what they brought to the table, they got tactics right. He showed up on the night and he performed, and the first two rounds, he surprised me because I was expecting him to come to me, and our game plan was to box and move early and then start the fight, but he kind of threw me off with that. A few sort of underhand tactics which I expected, but I didn't deal with well on the night. Um, but in hindsight, in 5, 6, 7 years, I'll look back on the whole experience probably with fond memories, knowing that I actually got there. But still, at the minute, I'm still a wee bit deflated with it all. I I know I have so much more to offer, and and as I say, I didn't get to show the world that.
Was it sort of, and even probably even myself, I watched the Quickly fight and stuff like that, and you seen how it went. Was it, and I know Berlanga said it sort of sleepless nights, sort of leading up to the fight, where he was giving you the ultimate respect. When things were going early in the fight, the low blows, the elbow, and things like that. Did that play on your mind, sort of like, particularly when you were going, this is started off so easy and winning rounds where I'm probably wasn't expecting it was probably been more of a firefight sort of to start. Like, was some of them underhanded tactics he played, did that play into his hands effectively?
So it was more the reaction of the ref. Like I after the elbow, and then he hit me a few sneaky low blows, and then it was a blatant one, and I was like, what the hell? And I looked, and the ref was like he was shouting at me, and I then I kind of thought, fuck this, I'm just going to frigging try and fight because I'm not going to get any favor here. And it kind of worked in his favor, like and um, but I think the biggest difference is resources, and I was fighting at elite level of sport, and am I an elite like athlete in terms of the way I commit? Probably not, because I'm not full time. I'm not a full time boxer. Like I do so many things like outside of boxing. Um, and I think resources and and my own sort of unwillingness to go full time was probably the biggest factor.
It's probably hard in some ways, particularly for a lot of boxers here that, unless, there's not too many obviously Irish boxers you think of to have that sort of full time, and even when they are full time, it's probably where they get the sparring that probably Berlanga would have been had, and the facilities they have in America and stuff as well. It's 10 times bigger than sort of is here, but I guess you can probably only do, with things limited for you, and in them respects, there's only so much you can sort of do. So it's, I guess, if you'd have went there and shocked the world, and obviously come home with a win, everything was perfect.
Yeah, he was much bigger than I expected. We briefly spoke to his team after, and I spoke with Tony, and apparently he rehydrated to about 205 pounds. I, I I thought I'd done well getting the 190, but he was big. He's a big physical boy, and he was sharp, and he it's he's a bit of a star of the super middleweight division for a reason, and I found that out in the worst way possible. It's my first and only time ever been down in my career, and unfortunately it happened in front of millions of people.
It's, like I know I sort of said to you afterwards, like it's no disrespect to sort of, go away there, and I know obviously you're chasing perfection. You're one of these people, you want to deliver for your fans, but I guess as your fans will know, you went in there and tried to mix it up. You could have easily have stood off, on a lot of that, but obviously you didn't want to do that, and I know when you were going away there as well, like to get a decision away was probably going to be hard, so you were always going to have to try and chase a fight.
Maybe it's yeah, it's one of them things. Um, I I brought plenty of people and they made plenty of noise, and I brought them for a reason, because I expected so much more. And but as I say, on the night, Berlanga's team, they got it right, and unfortunately we didn't.
Obviously, I'm just seeing the news here today. Berlanga looks like he's now going to be made mandatory with the WBA. It looks like Dave Morrell's going to move up to light heavy. Does that probably make things worse for you now? Do you know you were so close to a Canelo fight? That, I know Canelo fights Munguia now in 15 days time, but you could have been fighting September against Canelo. I guess it's one of these things, isn't it? Obviously, if you had a one, would the WBA make you mandatory? Because of the name sort of thing there as well. Like, does that make it worse for you now, knowing that he's going to be next to line for Canelo?
Well, the fight in the last on the day of the fight, we actually found out that it was a final eliminator. So um, that was all done, and I do expect him to fight Canelo in September if he comes through Munguia. But listen, I got a big opportunity, and it was an opportunity to potentially change my life, and listen, I have a good life. I've done much more from boxing than I expected, and it's, again, I'm not going to look at the missed opportunities, because I I got a great opportunity, and as I say, in years to come, I'll look back on that with fond memories.
Obviously, the weeks, obviously afterwards, like obviously, tasting your first. Like, when was the last time you were beat? Before then, Potty, it's probably gone back a good few years. Like,
Nearly
obviously
10 years
defeat
ago,
for
yeah.
you as a pro. Like, and I know sometimes, I've done interviews with people and they say, they've had a defeat early on in their career and it's helped. Has that hindered you probably more, the fact that you got so far, as a defeat harder to take? Obviously, knowing that you've surpassed where you wanted to go in the sport, but having that defeat, how did you deal with it? Obviously, it's a long time since you've been defeated, so like I'm sure that obviously the last few weeks obviously haven't been easy for you.
Listen, I didn't deal with it too well. I thought I would have been able to, like, as I say, win or learn, and maybe that's the way that I should look at it. But as I say, I I expected I expected a much better like performance, and I think it's the lack of performance that has hurt me most. But listen, I haven't hid away. I've I've seen everyone that I wanted to see, and I've been out and about, and it's one of them things. Just get on with life. It's more. I like my son sitting plays his game and stuff, and I heard him speaking to like his friends, and he's saying Berlanga's a cheat. He's a cheat. He hit my daddy an elbow and stuff like. So it's just knowing that they can see that in the future. I don't like that. But listen, it happens to almost everybody unless you're Floyd Mayweather. But just the way that I went out, I did it didn't sit well with me.
Obviously, after we were in Dublin, I guess everything was still so raw for you that obviously, at that stage you're a retired fighter, and I hope you don't mind me saying that like at that stage you were retired and you were saying to me, give me a shout on Monday, we're going to do an interview, and I'd said, we're not doing one. Let you have your time, because you can be like me, Paddy, you can be stubborn and you make a decision and you'll stick by it. Like time helped you to heal. Like obviously I know there's rumors now of obviously a fight in August, potentially obviously like Keeler. Like is this time now helped you to heal that you know that you can come again?
That was all sort of that was all like a wee joke with the Jag. I've never made a solid decision. I was weighing you up.
Wouldn't be
Listen,
like you.
deep deep down the fighter in me wants to fight, yeah. But as I say, I got a lot going on. I'm at the stage of my life now. I got to think what I'm going to do in my work life. When in terms of my business, do I try to expand that? Do I commit more hours to that? Because the last 3 or 4 years I've been part time. So I got to make a decision. I have a young family, and as much as my wife's like supportive, I like to like provide for them, and it's probably the reason why I didn't go full time, because at my age I'm kind of like I'm potentially one fight away or one film nugget away from that boxing again, and I never wanted to fully step away from my job, because it was something that I built and I do fairly well out of it. So I didn't want to fully step away and then in 6, 7, 8 months time need to go back to that and rebuild from step one. So I've never really made a decision. There's been early talks of what's next, and I'm I'm very open like to speaking about that. But a 10 week camp to me at the minute has to make sense. Like it's getting close like to that time where because I haven't been in the boxing gym from my fight. I've done a few runs, played a few football games, played a gilly game. Nothing really. So it has to make sense for me to 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 find the will and the want to do that. And me and Luke, we sparred before that. He has a win over me in the amateurs. We're both Irish, but both boxed at a very high level. So I think it's a fight that makes perfect sense. But again, or that makes that's an appealing fight for both of us, and we can see reasons why we would fight each other. But the main reason has to be that it has to be financially the rewarding to be able to commit another 10 to 12 weeks of my life to till boxing.
I'd obviously said the same. They obviously Jason Quiqley, because obviously there's a bit of a triangle sort of going on that Luke wanted you and Jay obviously hasn't spoke out on anything, and sort of you hadn't really spoken either. But like, did you ever think you were going to get to this stage? You're about to come 7 years since you made your professional debut, but getting to this stage where you were thinking like the money has to make sense. Like before, like there was times where you were having to sell tickets just to cover your costs. Like you've got to this stage now where you've built a career, you've built a following. You're mentioning a card and ticket sales go through the roof straight away. So you've got to this stage where you can demand a certain fee. And obviously I know that you're still under Conlan box and everything else. So but you can demand a fee to say, Jamie, this needs to make sense for me to fight, which he'll understand at the same time. He understood probably if he retired, if he understood if he fought on. So he makes sense in the sort of a lot of that, so he'll probably already know where you're coming from.
Yeah, we briefly spoke about it, and he's been like very supportive, but I feel like I've earned this opportunity and earned the right to know my worth, and and what I feel like a fight with Luke Keeler is right. I can remember Dangerous Damnation 2 and 3, and I know one of them shows I boxed and I earned under £100 the fight. So I feel like I've had a lot of fights that I can give the promoters and other people their value for money, and it's my time to get my value for money. If I'm going to fight on, I gotta get the value that I feel like I've earned it. And as I say, it's as much as I would love to give the Belfast people and the people that's followed me and made this possible, the opportunity to come and like watch me again. Uh, it's it, it's going to take, and I think it's going to happen. I listen. If you were to say to me now, like right now, what do you feel? I would say I'm 70-30 in favor of the fight happening, and it would take a silly offer, like for me to say no. But and that again, that's the fighter in me. I'm here to fight. I feel like I didn't get to prove myself the last time out, and I want to rectify that. Um, and I would love all my friends and family that couldn't make it to America to watch me fight get to see me again.
Potential, obviously, a headline the SSE Arena as well. Obviously, I know you headlined the Fila last year, but these years you've been going and watching boxing. You know, obviously, I'm not saying this is probably a final farewell. Obviously, you probably tell me if I'm wrong, but you know, to start your career in SSE and potentially end your career in SSE, it came sort of full circle. But it's not. Is it sort of one fight and done of it's a potential, or is there still the hunger and the drive to keep going afterwards?
Listen, it, it could be the farewell. I don't know. At the minute I don't have a definite a definite answer because I don't even know if I'm going to fight. But again, if you ask me, I'll be 36 by then, so it could well be the farewell, and I do feel like I owe a big night out like for everybody. And I know that Luke Keeler's very eager to get a big fight for his farewell, and I think it makes perfect sense. Like when it comes to Jason, I think Jason may be a bit too expensive for us. He and he's earned the right. He's been the very top of the sport. But who knows? Who knows? If you ask me now, it could well be a one and done. But boxing's a funny old sport. It's a sport that I love, and as I said from the very start, and I think I think like you'll agree and approve of this. I've always said it's one fight at a time.
Yeah, you've always been that way. I guess in other news as well, obviously one of your co-managers, Michael Conlan's decided he's going to fight on as well. Like, there's no quit in boxing, and I guess sometimes it's probably knowing, and you'll have seen obviously comments and stuff like that. It's knowing the right time to sort of go, and Jamie probably echoed it the other week as well. Obviously, and he'd said, you know, if boxers are thinking of retirement, probably better they pull the pin and sort of and go. But like, there's that fine balance, isn't there, Paddy? And you know, money has to make sense to keep going on because you need to make sure you're 100% in the training camp, you're 100% in the fight night, or things can go wrong.
The thing is, and I think it's the same with Michael. I think we know if it's happening, we will give it like everything, and like and be fully dedicated. And I think we're both experienced enough like to know that it's a brutal sport, and if you're not fully there, then you're safer stepping away. So as I say, if I agree to a fight, like I'm there, and I part of me is definitely excited to see Michael back, and because I know how talented he is and how good of a fighter he is. And as a man, I know that he wouldn't want to go out like the way he did, the same way as me. You don't want to go out like that. You want to you want to like retire on your own terms and hopefully with a win. And he's going to come back, and I would love to be part of that. But from what I hear, it's a bit later in the year. I was hoping it was going to be like around August, and me, him, and Throne and whoever else could put on a big show. But if things fall right, and everything like being well, who knows? And I'll definitely look forward to like to watching Michael, and he has my full support. We became close. I've spent time with him. We had dinner the other week, and we briefly spoke about him fighting again, and he wanted to get the marathon out of the way, which he smashed. He done it under 3 hours as well. So he's a fit boy, and he's probably going to go back to this camp probably fitter than he's ever been because all the running he's been doing. But I'll be interested to see what he does next.
Is there something to probably maybe learn from Mick in the way, we know when obviously he had his first career defeat, obviously to Lee Wood, he was, was just over a minute away from becoming a world champion. Mm-hmm. Is it probably, and this is a good thing obviously with boxing, that things can be so, so tight knit that probably he'll offer advice. Jamie obviously, Jamie suffered defeat and didn't come back, so obviously he has it on the other side as well. So is it good to sort of have people there that it's been through what you've been, what you're going through currently, so they can get you back by loving the sport and maybe committing to it maybe more than one fight?
Jimmy's he's a good head to speak to, and we spoke about this, and he's given me his opinion, and I think we both agree that we think there's more in me, and I know if he didn't believe that, he would say it straight up. And then with Michael, he showed a bulletproof like mindset and a resilience that I think it has to be admired. I spoke to him briefly about it, and I was like, "How do you deal with it, like day in day out?" Like, and he just says, "You got to care about yourself and about the people that's close to you and listen to them." And so, I've asked them all for advice, and they know where I'm at. I know where they're at, and I think there's a good trusting relationship there that we're able to like confide in each other.
The big fights don't stop happening. Obviously in Belfast, obviously Sean McComb obviously fights Barboza tomorrow night. We're just over 4 weeks away from Ando Kakachi, obviously fighting for the ABF world title, and obviously then Lewis Crocker back again in June. Like I don't know when the last month was that there wasn't big fights on DAZN involving Irish fighters. Like what a time, and obviously you've been part of that, obviously headlining in America as well. Like what a time Irish boxers are having with DAZN at the moment.
Yeah, listen, we put ourselves right at the forefront of boxing, like in the UK. And it's all people that I've trained with at some stage, and people that I really get on with. Like you have Crocker, who I spent like a lot of time with, and I think he's the leading light from the slightly younger generation, like from us. And then you have Sean McComb, Holy Trinity man, as well, and Andrew Kachi, Holy Trinity man. We're all actually Trinity men, actually. And then you throw in Kevin Ajargo as well, who I hope to see out again soon. But all involved in big fights, and it's great to see because for a long time, and even at the start of my career, without the likes of Burnett and stuff, we struggled to get any sort of platform, and we've put ourselves right in the mix with the best fighters and the biggest promotions in the game, and we're reaping the rewards financially as well, which is great to see.
Obviously, on your own, I know that you've ready this setup and everything else, but obviously Hammer Boxing, obviously you had a couple, obviously your fighters, obviously out there, obviously Owen, obviously had his debut, obviously on the I don't know, after obviously everything went on back in September, I think September, October time. So he had obviously his one, and like I guess in some ways where he wasn't happy with his performance and everything else, like the views that Edgar Kimsky got, weigh-ins and stuff like that. The guy showed him 120,000 people viewed the weigh-in clip. Like people know who Owen O'Neill is now just from a weigh-in clip. In some ways it's helped with the exposure. Looks like maybe potentially Jared's going to have his rematch as well with Rudy Farrell. Like it's not just you thriving. Obviously your boxers are thriving now because of this.
Yeah, I think that the decision of Kimsky and Owen when he started squealing has like gained about 500,000 views or close to it. So for his own sort of like profile, it's great, and to get that much views, it's going to get people interested to see what you do next. So we have I'm hoping that if everything that goes well in August, it's going to be a big night. Like for Hammer Boxing, we have a new signing coming on board. Hopefully, all be announced next week. A guy from outside of Belfast had a good amateur career, and he's looking to now turn over to the pros. So I would hope to get him out on the same date. So we would hopefully would love to make O'Neill v Moran, which I think is a great fight, and we would love to get that for like an Irish title or something of that magnitude. And then Hughes and Farrell, I think, makes great sense. Both lads seem very eager, like for the fight, but obviously Rudy has something like going on in Scotland, so we got to see what happens there. And then the new signing to the team, I would love to get him out as well. Obviously, like with your debut and stuff, you always do really well on tickets, and that's and if we get him out on a big card, and hopefully he can build his fan base and push towards some big fights as well.
Would you be, when you now obviously when you've been through your own fight and everything else, will you look to grow hammer boxing more? Or obviously, you just still want to keep it small and obviously easy for you to work. Like, is it something you thought of maybe taking it to the next level? And because we're going to have, once Olympics is over here, we're potentially going to have a lot of obviously our amateur boxers moving pro. Like, if you started to think maybe after the Olympics and all's done, you could have somebody land in your doorstep you probably wouldn't have thought of.
Yeah, well, that's the stage that I'm at now, and that's what I mean by I have to think what's going on with my own like personal life, whether it be expand my own personal training business and hammer boxing. But at the minute, I want to keep it to 3 to 4 fighters max because I want to be able to get them the opportunities to get them like the platform. And my links with Conlan Boxing, who now have a great deal, that looks like they have a great deal with DAZN, and I think I can use that to my advantage because he's very happy to work with me. And if I can use my relationships and my contacts, pass on to my fighters, that's what I want to do, and that's the reason why at the minute I want to keep it small because I want to be able to give them the best platforms and opportunity possible. And I read off the back of Mick and Burnett and many other fighters, even Keeler and Cummings. Like I fought their undercard as well. So I would love to give that back like the fighters as well. Then maybe fight like a my undercard. So it's exciting times, but it's just it's up to me to make the right decisions.
Definitely. Well, look, we'll leave it there because obviously I know that you wanted to keep it short and sweet as you're going to play. You're going to try and attempt to play football today, are you?
Yeah. Football is a sport that I've always loved, and I want to play today. It's actually at 3, so I have football today, and then this weekend I got the wrestling, WWE, and 4 kids parties. So I'm a busy man.
Are you
Ready to
taking
be
Faker
father
to WWE?
tomorrow night. Yeah,
So
tomorrow night.
you're going to end up in the ring, are you?
I'm actually bringing 3 kids. We're going bowling first. But if John Cena wants to go, I'll beat the shit out of him.
I guess like the kids and us sometimes, obviously, I'm obviously not sure what you were like, but obviously growing up, obviously with the wrestling, it's hard. Like I watched WrestleMania and stuff the other week, and like you're sort of going like you're watching a sport where it's make believe, sort of, it's there's nothing really real happens. But like you'll be obviously in the SSE arena watching that, and you'll probably be more excited than Faker is, when you're watching it.
I was a big fan of wrestling many years ago. Me and my friends used to watch it all the time. Rory Dalton actually thought that Hulk Hogan was his dad until he was 11, and he cried his eyes out when he found out that he actually wasn't. So I'm a fan of wrestling, and actually seen on the Forbes list that it's the third highest grossing company in combat sports. Crazy.
It's unbelievable, you know. Like as I say, you could go there tomorrow night and they'd find out obviously who you are, and sort of the next thing you know, they're going to have you in the ring. You know, like I can remember obviously Floyd Mayweather and the Big Show, and there's been other boxers
Remember
before
that?
as well. You know, so
Mayweather knocking him out.
you never know. They could obviously maybe have you down beside the ring, sort of. And
Oh no,
simply,
we've got a wee box, so it's made a few friends, and we spliced out, and I'm up in a box, so it should be a good night.
definitely would. But listen, obviously, thanks very much for catching up with us. Fingers crossed.
No problem.
Obviously, Jamie Conlan get his checkbook out and give you the number you want, so that you and Luke Keeler can obviously get a domestic fight.
To get that belly off, it's going to take a few quid. It took a few quid to put it on.
But listen, thanks very much for your
all the
time as
best, mate.
always, and I'm sure we'll catch
All
up
right.
soon.
Take it easy. See you later.
Cheers, Pete.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye.